This is DevOps in Agile Way podcast.
Hello everyone. Now we have 2 weeks cadence of my podcast, so it's time to have another episode. This episode will be quite short and quite sad because I'd like to touch a topic which is sad for me personally. I don't think it was, let's say, noticed by the market, but still I still believe this is quite important in the whole DevOps landscape. WaveWorks. I don't know if you recognize this organization, what they do, what they did. We'll talk a little bit later. WaveWorks stopped their operations and closed the shop, let's say. Right now the web page is not working anymore. So it was wave.works, so it's not there anymore. And the CEO said that they sad to announce, but officially they need to, or they will close the shop. They closed the commercial operations. What WaveWorks did? So first of all, they had a couple of open source tools. They had, I should say, a couple of enterprise tools, all related or mostly related to GitOps. What is GitOps? I believe many of you know. So generally, GitOps was created by WaveWorks. And it is a framework because it's not the methodology, is something what we do as DevOps hopefully all the time. DevOps take the whole process as a more organized and more described. WaveWorks did a lot of work around GitOps to make GitOps fully functional, to make GitOps operational, to make GitOps useful. But the problem which I see with GitOps, that GitOps on the beginning was connected very closely, very tightly with Kubernetes. Generally, I even heard that this is the way how we work with Kubernetes. And to be honest, I really don't like this approach. Because if we close or if we tie together the framework with the technology, and I'm not saying about frameworks like Node.js or React or whatever, I'm saying here about operational frameworks like GitOps, like others. So if we tie very closely this kind of framework with technology, it doesn't make sense really, because frameworks should be technology agnostic. Honestly speaking, GitOps is technology agnostic. I had a couple of talks already when I showed how GitOps works for serverless, and I saw at least couple of other talks done by other people where they show how GitOps can be used in different areas. But let's come back to WaveWorks for a second to close this sad part of this episode. So we don't have WaveWorks anymore. They are not owning, let's say, GitOps anymore. If you look on their GitHub account, you will see that recently they changed the licenses for enterprise products to open source, to MPL. It really looks like the end of their operations forever. This will stay what they've done. It will stay as a open source, and this is really, really great. And I really appreciate and kudos to everyone who was involved in that they changed enterprise functionalities into open source, into free software. That's really great. Personally, even I didn't use it. I personally want to thank them. All right, so let's go back for a second to the GitOps itself, because right now GitOps become really, really big thing. We even have the standardization / framework / approach called Open GitOps. Honestly, I do not agree with every single element of this framework, and I tell you why in a second. But the information is that on the 15th of April there will be GitOps Con in Seattle, so that's quite quick, I would say, growth of GitOps. Well, if I remember correctly, GitOps was announced in 2014, so it's 10 years, so it's not that young thing, but it's great that we have this opportunity to talk about GitOps. The webpage opengitops.dev will give you all information about GitOps, mainly and most importantly, GitOps principles. And the principles are in version 1.0.0. We have 4 principles. First is declarative. So a system managed by GitOps must have its desired state expressed declaratively. This is the holy grail of DevOps. So yeah, that's something what we want and we do. The second principle is versioned and immutable. It means that desired state is stored in a way that enforces immutability, versioning, and retains in complete version history. Also, something what we do, right? The third principle is pulled automatically, and it means that software agents automatically pull the desired state declaration from the source. And here I have an issue, and let me tell you this a little bit later. And fourth is continuously reconciled, so it means that software agents continuously observe actual system state and attempt to apply the desired state. And the fourth principle here is connected to the third one. Honestly, I have troubles with this pull approach because I think about scale. Imagine that you have thousands of services and you do the pull model and you pull changes from version control system to the platform. So we have 2 ways. We have push system, which is like normal ones. You send the commit triggers CI/CD, and CI/CD deploys new version of container, new version of application, new version of anything to your platform. Pull model means that you constantly check if anything changed in the version control. It means that, first of all, you have more network noise. Second, you have, depends on what is the interval of this pull checks, you may have discontinuation between commit and change of the state and actual deployment. That's why I'm not big fan of this principle here, so pulled automatically. I see the benefits in some cases, especially in smaller systems, but for scale, and I'm always thinking about scale, I see this as a little bit problematic. So, but that's my opinion. Of course, you can have a different one, and if you do, let me know in the comments, in the LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever. I'd like to know why I'm wrong. By the way, we will have more conferences about things related to GitOps. So we have 2 ArgoCon conferences. So Argo CD is a tool which uses this approach really, right? So we have on March 19 ArgoCon, I think it will be collocated event in KubeCon, and in 12th of November, again ArgoCon as a collocated event in KubeCon as well. So in March in Paris and November in Salt Lake City. So yeah, GitOps is very popular framework which is used and growing very rapidly. This is nice, really, honestly speaking, because with GitOps, really we have like a documented principles of things we try already do, keeping everything together, keeping everything as a immutable and declarative code, keeping infrastructure kind of close to code of application and as a code as well. And many people are really engaged to make GitOps even better than it is, if it is possible at all, because it's kind of simple, I would say. It's 4 principles really, right? So what we can do is only work around tools for GitOps. Anyway, I said already what I don't like about principles themselves, and I really don't like that, and I mentioned this already, and I really don't like that GitOps very often in people's minds is equal to Kubernetes. It's not that way. It is, of course, it is the easiest connection, Kubernetes and GitOps, because GitOps was created, as far as I know, for Kubernetes. However, GitOps can be applied to other architectures as well. Of course, you can think about GitOps in different ways and ask, why should I even look at GitOps, how stable as a approach it is? Let me say only this. GitOps, as a GitOps working group, is under CNCF, period. Okay? So it means that CNCF takes care about GitOps, and for me, that's enough to be ensured really that the project is stable. Okay, so we started with something what is kind of sad, that WaveWorks ceased its operations. Then we explored a little bit GitOps, so quite of twist in this episode. Honestly, I didn't expect that. Hopefully, very soon I will come back to interviews. I have some plans already, so stay tuned and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of DevOps in Agile Way podcast with your host, Pavel Pivosh. Subscribe, comment, and do not forget to check our next episodes. Stay tuned. Stay safe. Stay curious.